It's important that we're starting the year like this. European and American allies, side by side with President Zelensky, standing for peace. And we are closer to that goal than ever. But of course, the hardest yards are still ahead. So we're here today to keep driving that effort forward. And we've had a very constructive meeting, which is built on the excellent progress made in negotiations over recent days and weeks. The purpose of the Coalition of the Willing is to help deliver a peace that can last and to work with the US to guarantee Ukraine's security for the long term. This work is now more advanced than ever. Today's joint declaration set that out in clear terms. On top of that, and alongside President Zelensky and President Macron, we went even further today. We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. This is a vital part of our iron-cast commitment to stand with Ukraine for the long term. It paves the way for the legal framework under which British, French and partner forces could operate on Ukrainian soil, securing Ukraine's skies and seas and regenerating Ukraine's armed forces for the future. We discussed these issues in detail today, and so I can say that following a ceasefire, the UK and France will establish military hubs across Ukraine and build protected facilities for weapons and military equipment to support Ukraine's defensive needs. And with our coalition partners, we've also agreed significant further steps. First, that we will participate in US-led monitoring and verification of any ceasefire. Second, we will support the long-time provision of armaments for Ukraine's defence. And third, we will work towards binding commitments to support Ukraine in the case of a future armed attack by Russia. This is all about building the practical foundations on which peace would rest. But we can only get to a peace deal if Putin is ready to make compromises. And so we have to be frank. For all Russia's words, Putin is not showing that he's ready for peace. Over the last few weeks, we've seen the opposite. Further horrific strikes on Ukraine, killing and wounding civilians, and cutting off power for millions of people in the dead of winter. His forces hit a hospital in Kyiv just yesterday, and he's tried to distract from peace efforts with unfounded claims of attacks on his residence. Now, this only hardens our resolve. We will continue to step out our support for Ukraine's defence in 2026 to ensure it gets the equipment and backing it needs to continue the fight. And we will keep the pressure up on Russia, including further measures on oil traders and shadow fleet operators funding Putin's war chest. We will continue these efforts until they come to the table in good faith and until we realise the goal that we all share of a just and lasting peace.
When it comes to security, the architecture already exists, and our partners can pressure Russia to put an end to this war. Ukraine never stood and never prevented peace. Russia started this aggression, and it is very clear as to who should do what is necessary to be done to put an end to this war. So I would like to thank all of those who contribute to peace. We all understand that we need to stop the aggressor to allow peace. The deep strikes, the sanctions, our diplomacy, all of this is working. Today we also talked about our air defense. It is essential. Some leaders of the Coalition of the Willing mentioned it. For us, it is a daily issue. It is true that Ukraine needs missiles every day because, notwithstanding diplomacy, the Russian strikes continue. Russia is not concentrating on diplomacy. They are striking our villages or cities or infrastructure. And we discussed this issue with President Trump in Mar-a-Lago, and I would like to thank him deeply for his understanding and his support. In Paris, the extension of air defense has been discussed already again. The stronger our air defense, the stronger will be our diplomacy. So thank you to all of you for your support. Thank you.
The presence of President Trump's special envoys today and the commitments by President Trump himself, in particular what he said at the meeting in Mar-a-Lago at the end of last year with President Zelensky, that was about an American commitment to take responsibility. This meeting, I think, is a milestone in the process that we defend, is in line with the American interests. As what France has been defending for several years is a more independent Europe with more strategic autonomy. That's to say, Europe taking responsibility, greater responsibility for its security, taking into account NATO, but taking on a greater share. In his first mandate and in this one too, President Trump has said that Europeans must bear a greater share of the burden. That's what he's asking us to do, and it makes sense. So all the work of these recent months through the Coalition of the Willing is to get the Europeans together. But there's also Canada, New Zealand, Japan, the United States, and the Canadian Prime Minister in particular was with us today, which is a very strong signal, and is fully committed to these security guarantees. So the Coalition of the Willing is the beating heart of this support to Ukraine, offering security guarantees. So what we're saying is the day after the ceasefire, this is how we will provide these different moments of support to Ukraine, in particular through a new format for the Ukrainian army that will deter Russia.
Peace is only possible because of the progress that we're making in these meetings of the Coalition of the Willing and that we've made here today. And I'm really pleased that nearly a year after we have begun this work with the Coalition of the Willing, that we've got this far now with security guarantees. Of course, nobody is saying that is job done. Of course, there's more work always to be done. But we've made some real progress today, and that is a good thing for Ukraine. It's a good thing for Europe. It's a good thing for the United Kingdom because, of course, this is about our security, our defence, our freedoms, and the impact that it's already had over 4 long years on Ukraine, on Europe, and back in the United Kingdom.
The President strongly stands behind security protocols. Those security protocols are meant to A, deter any attacks, any further attacks in Ukraine, and B, if there are any attacks, they're meant to defend, and they will do both. They are as strong as anyone has ever seen. Everyone on this panel, on this stage up here, has acknowledged that, as has almost all of the countries that sat at the table with us today. The President does not back down from his commitments. He is strong for the country of Ukraine and for a peace deal, and we will be there for the Ukrainians in helping them to get to that final peace, and we're confident we will get there.